Hey everyone, and welcome to the Best of 3 Call of Duty Esports Podcast. I'm your host, Josh. SalvationsElite to my right is Bash_Bo3 Sam, and to our farthest right per usual is none other than the Rex, ShadyNero, and boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, this is episode 99 of the podcast. So, which means, of course, if you guys can do math, next week is episode 100. So, first of all, drop all your comments down below about any ideas you have for what we should do on episode 100 to commemorate all the episodes so far. But we have lots to talk about today, obviously. I mean, it's going to be a fun one. We have rosters that are coming through, some leaks from Crone from CDL Intel, and we're going to be going through them on the new DC roster, the new Paris roster, talking about that. And we are grading Rostermania, giving a grade to every single team in the CDL. And so it's going to be a fun one, man. I'm looking forward to it. But before we get any of that and all the spicy news, boys, I've got to ask, what's going on?
Ooh, well, Josh, today you were looking like a peppermint patty ready to be scrounged up and thrown in the fridge to make it a little bit colder and harder.
Turning the tables.
I don't know about you. That's how I like my little candies.
I always freeze mine.
That's beautiful.
I can't wait. My little peppermint patty.
What would you say?
Wow.
When you said peppermint patty, I thought you were going the Krabby Patty route because of that beautiful bag in the background behind you. Ooh, that thing's nice,
that's my
dude.
Personalized NYSL, my custom-made brown bag.
Dude.
For donating to the New York Marine Center.
Yeah, man. All part of their announcement for Neptune as well, of course, to the SpongeBob meme of King Neptune. Things you love to see from NYSL. Shout out Gersh. Goated ideas right there. You things you love to see.
New York Marine Center.
Of course, of course.
Nice.
And yeah, that's dope. That is sick. So again, I mean, Sam, how you doing?
I'm doing great. Just another Monday in the books. We're here now.
Yeah. Yeah.
We
are.
Yogurt covered and all. And
yeah, for you guys viewers out there, Sam had a tough day. We had to start late because a child spilled yogurt on his keyboard, and he got to his keyboard. He's like, "What happened here?"
wasn't working.
It wasn't working very well, so we had a little bit of a late start recording tonight. But it's gonna be a fun one. I am very much looking forward to it. And you can watch on YouTube. You can drop a comment on Apple Pod, or you could drop a comment on YouTube. You can drop a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts, and apparently you can drop 5-star reviews on YouTube, because that's what we were talking about last week. And we got some dope reviews from people on the YouTube comments.
Nice.
So G Money says 5 stars, relevant topics covered, and always fun and interesting to listen to you guys, and your guys' dynamic is great. 5 stars. Thank you, G Money. Thank you, brother. Thank you. And Forrest French says 5 stars and even put the 5-star emojis. I absolutely love this podcast, and I'm positive I'm not the only one. I appreciate what you guys do and hope for nothing but more in the future. Have a few ideas on a few segments and or conversations I love to hear. Lots of love love a lot of the takes and how you guys don't always agree. Great opinions. Keep up the good work. We appreciate it.
Well, thank you.
So shout out Forrest, shout out everybody for dropping the kind comments, and the reviews on Apple Podcasts. We'll be reading those in the future as well too. So no quick question today, because we're going to be having a pretty, I think, long conversation overall about all the new rosters and everything. So without further ado, let's just get right into this news of the week.
The Call of Duty news of the week.
We got some news, baby. What we got, Rex?
News here. News here. Got your Call of Duty news. Big news. Paris and Washington, D.C. CDL Intel leaked some rosters for us. So I guess we'll just go right into it. Paris, allegedly, most likely, picking up Felo, Temp, Decimate, and John.
Very interesting.
My man John.
That is not the names I thought Paris was going to end up with.
Redemption, baby.
I didn't either. I don't know what I think of it.
Yeah, I mean, obviously we'll dive into it like at the end of the episode, talking about the whole Rostermania grades and everything. But like, what was your first impression when you saw this?
I was like way better than I thought. Those players could be a good team. And knowing Paris in the past, I didn't have high hopes of, what they're going to do.
Yeah.
I guess there could be a debate of whether
Sam,
this
John
was.
got a roster.
I know. So like, here's the thing: if he starts popping off, I'm gonna go off on Twitter and be like,
Oh, you're gonna be a
everyone
Paris
who's ever
fanboy.
disrespected John's name,
Yeah, man.
he's back. But I think
Honestly, I should be wearing the Paris hoodie right now. This is
You
honestly a
I think
mistake.
this route
Mhm.
or the route of just picking up like a full challengers team would have been a good option. So I think that's the debate right now: was this the better option, or was them just picking up 4 challenger
four
players?
full like the BBG squad or something
Yeah.
like that. Yeah.
So
Here's the
I think
thing,
they're probably gonna get some flack for not doing that, but I think what they did was actually pretty good. So
Yeah,
Yeah.
like I think it's sort of the same story where these teams aren't picking up, I don't know how to put it, like the rookie guys, like
The
Every
riskier young players.
the riskier young players. And I kind of wish they would have done that a little more, at least one other person or something, because this is super.
Right, because even the DC roster, there's not a risky player on that.
No, nothing shocks you. It's like, oh, it's okay, it's these guys.
Yeah.
But you know, maybe that'll turn out well. The DC roster is the one that
Yeah, fire away.
I feel like more bravado. It's right. DC,
Yeah.
Methodz, Vivid, Paul X, and you guessed it,
He made
TJ
it.
Haley.
He made it.
who
He
Let's go,
made it.
Teej.
who said that? Who said
Things
that?
you love to see. Yeah, Sam, you
Last
called that
week.
one last
I
week.
called that one. So
Yeah, yeah.
What do
Yeah.
we think?
I mean, it was as the
no one
week
cares.
as the week progressed, it was looking more and more like that. I'm like, oh, Sam's pick is looking pretty good here because we
Pretty
saw
good.
like Zapdius and all these guys announcing their rosters and like Saints and everybody's like, oh, we're back in challengers. And then suddenly you're like, who's left here? It's like Teej and no one else. It's like, oh my word, this is gonna be Teej.
Yeah.
And so it's interesting. So again, first thoughts on this roster.
The Methodz Paul X dynamic, I think, is the first thing
Very interesting.
I go to first. Just seeing like these are two like primarily AR players, right?
Yeah, I mean, Paul's definitely flexed before, but he's been
Right.
a main AR in challengers more often than not. Yeah.
Like he's more known as an AR player. Like he
Mhm.
can flex. You know, everyone can flex. Whatever. Methodz is probably gonna be more on the AR side of things.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, he's stuck on AR.
And I'm really concerned maybe a little bit with the pacing of what this team might have.
Okay.
I'm not quite sure how it's going to land.
Can Teej keep up with Vivid? Can Vivid, find that fluidity with the roster? That's always the question with Vivid in his career so far is how does he fit with those pieces around him?
Mm-hmm.
So that kind of comes to play here right off the rip. How do you think Teej and Vivid are as an SMG duo?
It's interesting. I feel like I haven't gotten a good gauge on Teej really since like Black Ops 4 really. Kind of like his play
the
style's
LAT
been kind of weird.
experiment.
It's been weird. So to like try to it's weird to predict how this is going to be because Vivid was playing with Silly. No.
Well, yeah,
Silly
with
was-
LAG's squad, and then
Yeah.
you get moved to
And then, of
Dallas,
course,
and you're like,
Dallas.
oh my goodness.
I know. So I'm also having a hard time predicting how that SMG deal is going to go. I think there could be some success, honestly, if they find the right balance. We've seen Vivid take over, certain areas of the map, and then
Yeah.
maybe we'll see TJ back in his primes. And World War II TJ was pretty good. So we'll see.
And we know Paul has the gunny, and I'm sure Paul can play like fast and keep up with Vivid in that regard. So it's like there is some potential there. I like the
There
idea
is.
of this.
I think the key factor here is just going to be how passionate can they get into it.
Interesting. Okay.
I mean,
It's really,
yeah,
I really think it's going to be that. How much on the long haul can they be?
Okay.
I see that. Like, especially with TJ, like, is he really going to be into it?
The low key
And-
personality.
Mhm.
Yeah. For
Right.
sure.
I mean,
Right.
yeah. Like, here's what I'm saying, right? Like, there's a distinct difference between someone who, like, really cares about the game and is really passionate about the game versus someone who is still good at the game, but they're just not like it used to be, I guess. And, like, you
Okay.
can sort of see the difference in how they play.
Yeah. I can see what you're saying for sure. But like I said, we'll really dive into those rosters nearing like in the second half of the video or inside second half of the pod. So we wanted to give you a little teaser though at the beginning here, since it was obviously the headline news for sure.
Mhm.
But
What do we think?
yeah.
Paris versus DC? I
definitely lean the DC route off the rip. I mean, I feel like
John's
they have a
on
little bit more
Paris and-
upside talent, but Sam, yeah.
John's on Paris or Paris. Absolutely.
Decimate in the S&D conversation is interesting, but
I will say too, like Decimate too, like we when he was on Seattle, that was just really
He got thrown
weird.
in the fire both ways.
But even Subliners, he did kind of show out a little bit. When
They won the series.
when he joined, yeah. So I think
I
it'd be
don't know.
interesting.
I see this team being able to. I think Paris could end up being good. To be honest.
Well, then, like, especially given John a full year, Temp, I have mixed feelings on Temp. Like he was probably by far the best, like one of the best players in Black Ops 4 when he was on
Right.
Splice. Like he was just phenomenal. But like since Black Ops 4, he hasn't like really found his own. I feel like
No.
you kind of know what you're gonna get with him a little bit, but like there's nothing really spectacular, I would say. So yeah, I don't know. I think both these teams obviously have a lot to prove that they deserve to be in, the league.
top tier conversation
Exactly.
or like before they have a lot to prove before they're in the top tier conversation.
But like it won't be for lack of work, I don't think. Like, Paris, you got 4 guys that definitely all want it,
Yeah.
Maybe you can question Teej's, motivation after the whole LA Thieves thing,
Right.
but
Or really questioning his motivation while he was on LA Thieves,
Yes.
maybe even more than that. But
Yeah.
I'd imagine now he'll be pretty fired up to prove his worth.
I think
and,
so. Yeah.
and be ready to come and play. I mean, he looked pretty good in Challengers last year when he played for a little bit and stuff. So
Yeah.
we'll see. Yeah, overall.
So just in regards to rosters, Coach Theory for Paris Legion said in the Paris Legion Discord, personally, I think this is going to be our best year in competition. We've taken strides in just preparing for the season to begin, so I'm hopeful it all translate into more W's.
I mean, the bar is not that high. They don't have that much to like,
But this will be their
this
best
isn't
year.
the Olympic high jump right now, We're
Doubling-
still in 7th grade high jump.
Doubling 1 is only 2.
But here's the thing. There is a sense of relief of like throwing yourself at the bottom of the barrel so that pretty much anything you do can only go up.
I mean, yeah,
So
it's like
there
LAG.
could be a rise in like the Paris, how everyone thinks about Paris. And I think that could be a really fun storyline.
I'd say
throughout
there's more of a
Vanguard.
rise with
I
Method
think
and
it's possible.
Teej.
Hey, I was gonna say
Dab on them.
that one.
No, but I agree with you. It is interesting though, Rex, for sure. But
NYSL,
what's the other big announcement? Yeah, very
my
fun.
homeboys NYSL announced their roster. Hydra, Hail Hydra, Neptune's Crown,
Yep.
Crim, need I say more, and Clay,
They're back.
need I say more.
I feel like you're trying to like
Trying to sell us on this
sell
roster here.
Sells on the roster.
No, I'm just that excited about it because it's a good roster that has all the pieces in place. You have your
I was like,
leaderships.
I don't think
you
anyone
have your
doubts
young
that.
guns. You have your Hydra and Neptunes who their brains are so adaptable and moldable. We already know Hydra's got the gunny. Neptune we know needs to be growing into his own
Saying
still,
this
and I
with
think
the
he's our biggest
Brown
question
bag in the
mark coming
background
into this.
with
Mhm.
Anyways,
Does the bag fit your
Anyways.
head?
yeah, it does. It does.
It does? Oh, okay, good. Wait, does it have holes cut into it for like to put on your head?
No, it doesn't.
No. Oh, it's just a bag.
Yep.
Okay. Wow, really taking shortcuts here in New York.
Yeah.
No, but yeah, I mean, again,
Okay.
we'll talk more about the NYSL roster again, I think at the end. And we've already talked a lot about this team because they've been rumored for a while. But I
Envoys
think
in
we could-
consideration. Slasher's a possibility. Josh is
Yeah.
a big forehead and no gunny.
What in the world?
Absolute blind fire there. Jeez. So
Oh, it's actually listed on our doc.
That was Amari. Tough stuff there. But yeah, we'll talk more about that roster in the second half though for sure. And go over it. So I think we can keep going.
All right. Nubzy is stepping away from coaching.
Oh, it's so sad.
It is
Yeah,
sad,
bro, this
right?
sucks.
He had
This
the
sucks.
Genji, rise up in Black Ops 4. And then going into Modern
Yeah.
Warfare Surge, and you know how their years went. He says, I'd like to announce that I'll be stepping away from coaching. I've had an amazing past few years and been so thankful to meet the people and see the places that I have. In and out of game, it's been a rough 2 years, and it's time to focus on something new. Thanks for everything.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Joey Nubzy.
Yeah,
Thank
man.
you.
I
What's-
mean, fire
Go
away.
ahead. Oh,
No, fire away.
Say what sucks is like he was by far one of the most passionate.
I
And
agree.
like we,
For sure.
we saw like he was willing and he was wanting to grow the scene.
And connected.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And he's staying connected. And I feel like with like losing him, we're like losing, someone who's willing to put in the time and the effort to help grow the scene. And so, I do hope that we do see more from coaches that can do what, what he was doing. But gosh, that sucks. I don't know. I hope he still, stays around and streams. I know, like he said, like a couple of
imagine
streams.
be content stuff,
Yeah.
right?
Because I think we need him in the scene for sure. Like he's a staple in the community at this point, and it'll suck to see him not be coaching.
I know. I mean, he's, also the absolute vibe. So it's like he's
He
just
is.
comedy. So like those are all those things too. That's just like, it's unfortunate he's not going to be as involved in the scene now, But yeah, that really sucks. Shout out Nubzy.
Shout out Nubzy.
We'll miss you. Vivid now, well, rumored to be on Washington, D.C.
Yes, but he
but
officially
he's
announced
now
he's
an unrestricted free agent as
Yeah,
well
yeah, yeah.
because he's not
Which-
officially on DC yet.
Yeah, that news came out, I guess, before, obviously the CDL Intel thing, but so looking like pretty likely.
Scum posted a tweet with the, the officially signed signature thing,
Yeah.
assuming he's going to the OpTic Dallas merger thing. OpTic Twitter also posted a tweet, it's about the process soon. So it's coming
Yeah,
soon.
so their announcement's definitely on the horizons. I would imagine, it's possible it could happen when this thing comes out, but I would imagine either by the end of this week, for sure before Vanguard. I would imagine almost
probably
guaranteed before Vanguard.
Mhm.
Which so
Absolutely.
we're T minus 10 days from Vanguard.
Which is crazy to me.
Let's go. Let's go. I can't
It's awesome.
wait
It's here already.
to never get off the game.
There you
I'm
go.
hyped. I have 1 week to play Age of Empires 4. And then,
when does that
it
come
comes
out?
out on Thursday. And
Thursday.
then
Okay.
and then COD comes out. So I'll have 1 week to play AoE 4.
There you go.
But yeah, I think that was really interesting overall with OpTic, and we'll see what happens. Scump, it was funny because Scump was like, I've always wanted to post the it's official GIF. It's finally time. And so he's like, I'm posting this GIF right when I signed that thing, baby. So he was definitely keeping us in the loop there. That's for sure. But one thing I want to talk about with OpTic was they announced the launch of their community coins. Technically it's a cryptocurrency. It's an NFT coin basically, with Rally.io, which is a website. And I want to know, first of all, I want to hear your guys' thoughts on this, whether you have any thoughts or no thoughts. I think all of that's interesting. What are your thoughts on it, informed or not informed?
I literally have no idea what, crypto obviously is. I don't have any, so I'm not really in the position to know what's going on. I know, taking a uninformed opinion, I know there has been some controversy over certain, big orgs doing this and trying to do a pump and dump thing. So I don't know
FaZe had quite the situation.
Exactly. So I don't even know if that's possible with this. I have no idea. So I would assume they've seen the outcry on certain things and they know what they're doing with this, hopefully, which, is cool. But otherwise I have no idea what to think about this because I don't currently own any crypto. So
Yeah. Fair. Rex, what are your thoughts?
So it's a real crypto coin because it has a certain price on it, which as of right now is
Yeah.
0.269. So you can get a ton of these coins right now.
Yeah, it's 26 cents.
So that means you can also sell them, right, for real dollars.
Yeah, sort of.
But the coin also gives you chances at merch drops. It's kind of what
basically
Gary V's thing.
Well, Gary V's is a full-on NFT project. This is just a community coin. So community coins through Rally, as far as I know. This is my first time actually signing up on Rally and seeing how it works. So they have it limited to $20 per purchase right now. So per 24 hours. So I have $20 of it. I wanted to see how it worked and everything. But basically they're going to be doing how community tokens work. It's it basically is you buy the token, and if you own the token, you can use the tokens as access to events or early access to merch or exclusive merch or to maybe meet and greets or behind the scenes things, behind the scenes content, things like that. So like it's basically like a Patreon, or maybe like how how a Twitch streamer might use like Twitch subscribers or things like that. But like you can actually show your ownership of the coin and then use that as entry into exclusive access things. And so like if used right, it's a really cool opportunity, I think, to like to basically like create a community while still instilling value in the coin. And like in an ideal world, as your brand grows, so like let's say we started a community coin for the Best of 3 podcast, and anyone who bought the coin right now could probably buy it for like 1 cent or like something just insanely cheap.
Mhm.
And then as the community grows, more and more people will want to buy into the community, therefore increasing the value of the coin. And so in theory, everyone would, and all you need is like 1 coin or X amount of coins to get into this level of access. You need this many coins to get into this level of access and that type of thing. And so it's kind of like more of like a decentralized tiered Patreon in that regard. And people can use it in different ways, which is, I think, is why it's really cool and interesting. And again, in an ideal world, like I said, is that everyone wins because it's growing in value over time as the fan base grows.
All right.
Do you like connect like your accounts with all these different like Rally and Coinbase and all this other thing? Like,
yeah, so like the Rally's a little bit weird where you definitely can connect it to other crypto sites, but like it's a little bit weird with how you send it. So like, yes, you can send to other crypto sites, but it's going to take a while before it's really tradable on any other sites besides Rally, because they have to get added to other marketplaces. So it has to get to a big enough point where it's tradable on other marketplaces, if that makes sense. But for now, you can buy and sell it on Rally and stuff. But
cool.
Yeah, it is really interesting. I think the idea behind it's cool, like versus, you know, people have done the Patreon thing, like the Sidemen, like KSI and his friends. They recently did like a Side Plus, which is basically like a subscription service for behind the scenes content, exclusive drops, and future events, access to future events. So it's not a coin, it's just a monthly subscription, and then they'll send codes for those things. So there's kind of different ways to do it, I guess. The coin's pretty interesting because it's kind of like a long-term upside type thing, and it's cool and it's crypto and stuff. So if it's done the right way, I think it's a really, really cool opportunity and like a really cool thing as a community. But, you know, it can also go the wrong way if they don't support it well. So it kind of comes down to like people can lose money then if it's not supported well and they don't keep up with the value of it over time. So it's a little bit different than like, you know, a subscription. But at the same time, there's still upside to make money in the long term. Like your $20, like that might be what, 4 months of a $5 Patreon or something, or 2 months of a $10 Patreon. So it's like the risk isn't that high compared to what Patreon would be or Twitch subs or something.
Right.
Why are you
I think it's
smiling
a cool
over there,
thing.
Rex?
Okay, so NYSL announced they'll be doing NFTs on Flow blockchain this year. So Josh, do you want to explain what Flow blockchain is?
Oh yeah, dude, I love Flow. I have some Flow tokens of my own, which is why I was hyped that it's on Flow, because I'm like, I love Flow. So Flow is the blockchain that runs NBA Top Shot, and it was created by Dapper Labs. Basically, long story short, they're going to be partnering with Flow blockchain creators to create NFTs of sorts through the blockchain. So,
some COD highlights like that would be kind of sick. And cards.
Yeah. So they said they'll be curating the season's best moments and highlights. So I think we are going to get some sort of NFTs based around NYSL highlights. So,
and the player cards would be sick.
Yeah, and maybe some player cards or things like that as
I
well.
want the
that are
real
collectible.
player cards. How has nobody done that? Like,
I mean, something's up with Upper Deck. I don't know what's going on there, but yeah, I think that's really cool too. So we're gonna have an official, like what NBA Top Shot does with the highlights and all that, but with with NYSL and something along those lines with Dapper Labs and Flow. So that's with Flow specifically, not Dapper Labs. But yeah, anyway, I've been in now kind of in the whole crypto world thing for about 9 months now, so I'm slowly learning. But
oh really?
So yeah, that was sick. I'm hyped for that.
Okay. Zuma announcement coming soon. So as we know, Zuma
He left NYSL.
is leaving NYSL. There was some things going on Reddit where he was baiting that he would be going to LAG, though I think he was baiting for the camera. And then he has another one where he says LA Thieves, and the LA Thieves one I think has more weight to it than the LAG one, more like realistic. But in that one I couldn't tell if he's baiting or not. But the LAG one, I don't know, at least to me felt real baity.
That announcement could happen by the time this pod comes out. I wouldn't be surprised, but it's at least possible it comes out in the next few days.
But he's got to be going to LA Thieves, you would think, right? LA Thieves or
Thieves
re-signing with NYSL or something.
Maybe FaZe. It could be FaZe. Wouldn't be shocked if it was FaZe. Back on the FaZe squad again.
Yeah, maybe. It's actually not horrendous. No.
LA Gorilla is possible. I think Gorilla's FaZe, maybe OpTic. If they weren't trolling, I don't know.
Yeah.
But they were kind of trolling that. You never know. Very fun. Shout out Zuma. Things you love to see. No free shout outs.
Mohawk from the Challenger scene. He had a tweet that said, "Wish someone told me living in Canada restricts you from certain franchises. That would have been good to know." And then he deleted that tweet. So
he's been talking to some people.
Him, but since he's Canadian, they said, no way. No Canadians in our roster.
That's all it was. I shot him down. Yeah. I mean, it's kind of crazy with how much success he had again with at champs in that last like few weeks of the season that, he didn't get a shot. He's one of those guys that if he performs again, starting off this season, he could find himself on a roster pretty quick if things go wrong for the right team, which is very possible.
Yeah. Which will happen. Has to happen.
Oh yeah. Roster moves will happen. That's for sure.
Wuskins and Skrapz might be returning to Vanguard Challengers. Wuskin tweets, "Been over a year since I last competed at a major tournament, and it felt like yesterday. Big things planned with my frat brother once Vanguard drops."
Oh, man. Love me some of that, baby.
Which it could still be Warzone, but who knows?
Yeah, it could be Warzone. It could be other content or things like that. But, hey, if they're back in Challengers, that's lit, and I'm down.
Yep.
Yeah, no, I'm really hoping them two are like not part of the fall off of like all the
retirement,
quote unquote,
quote unquote old people. Guys.
Yeah, it's like, man, I still want them to compete so bad because it's like the Wuskin twins Wuskin and
the twins,
Skrapz twins are like they're just such a they should still be competing.
They're staple.
You know what I mean? So
yeah.
Hopefully they can make some waves in the Challenger scenes and maybe make their way back up to the league. Who knows?
I agree, man. I freaking agree.
Speaking of other Europeans who quit the pro scene or retired from the pro scene to do Warzone, 100 Thieves Tommey. Remember Tommey?
Yeah, this was kind of surprising.
He tweets.
Oh, yeah, like Tommy's a goat.
"Crazy fun playing the throwback tournament today hosted by the Team Summertime boys. Good vibes with the squad, and it felt so good to be playing something proper competitive again. If there's any teams looking for a player or a substitute next year, I'm about it."
Yeah, interesting. So he's still shooting his shot. Things you love to see.
Yep.
Very interesting.
I mean, he was obviously a sub for the Empire in Modern Warfare. So he's, he was still around. And he had some success, in champs before that in World War II and BO4 and stuff like that. So, I mean, Tommy's a GOAT, one of the best European players of all time. And so it'd be cool to see him back in the scene. That's for sure.
Mm-hmm. Slacked bait. Basically, Slack tweeted, "I can't wait for Call of Duty Vanguard." And then somebody replied to him, "Oh, this means you got a team. Let's go." That is full of speculation, as deemed on Reddit, which I agree. That is, I feel like we might be reaching a little bit with that.
Yeah,
maybe.
Yeah. You never know. Maybe he's just hyped because he got his squad,
We're all about reaching, though, here at Best of 3.
Oh,
That's
we
true.
are.
That's true.
We are.
That's true.
The biggest stretch as they can get. We're here for that,
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that's about facts. That's
it
for the old news, baby.
Wow. We made
pretty
it.
quick today overall. I mean, I guess, sliding through, but like I said, we're going to have a pretty long conversation here for basically the rest of the show. So if you guys got nothing else, I think we can get into the spicy hotness and grading these pros these teams. Without further ado, let's grade Rostermania, baby. Let's go.
Getting good grades in those subjects combined with basketball skills can get you into college.
Alrighty, baby. Rostermania. We're giving these grades, baby. So, you know, like parent-teacher conferences when you're going, you're talking about like, well, this is what's going wrong. This is what's going right. And like, as well as kids, too, those are the best days of the week. You're like, half days of school, let's go, baby. But then your parents are always like, all right, they sit you down afterwards. You're like, all right, yo, you know, you gotta get this in order, you know? And that's what we're talking about with the teams today. All right. So we're giving these grades, we're giving the assignments, and we're starting off with LA Thieves. So basically what's gonna go down is we're gonna look at this kind of like from their perspective, with the resources that these teams had, with everything considered, with all the different maybe potential options or combinations or players to stay and players to go. How'd this turn out for them? How'd they do with what was presented, what situations were presented to them? And that's kind of how we're going off the grade. So it's not like a power rankings where we're saying like, oh, you know, we're not going to give an F to, I don't know, whoever, just because we think their team sucks. But like, okay, they did a good job with what they had, therefore a B, you know, something like that. So with that said, let's start off with LA Thieves with this roster of Draza, Octane, Kenny, and Envoy.
All right.
Thoughts on this team?
Let's talk resources. LA Thieves, you know, probably fairly deep pockets.
Right. I mean, they got the brand. They can get the players. For sure.
The only people not available, obviously, are going to be people on FaZe and
Scump.
Probably
maybe.
Dallas and OpTic are probably just not going to be touchable. They gave up Hook. I mean, yeah. Honestly, I think they came out pretty well. I would go with an A for, you know, what they had presented towards them. I think they did a really good job, honestly. I don't know what else you would want to change.
I mean, here's the thing. LA Thieves had quite the year. They subbed out.
Right, that's the thing.
Yeah, they subbed out many a player. So to get to this
Baker's
point,
dozens worth of roster changes. You know?
To get to this point where they have this hopefully set roster and they're not going to plan on changing a weekend. I definitely think from where they ended up to now was, you could definitely say it was an upgrade. You know, as I've said in the past, I think Draza was the brightest spot on this team and they kept him fantastic. They have Octane. Sorry, go ahead.
No, you were talking.
Oh, no, you just said Hook.
Okay. What's that?
Fire away.
Here's the thing.
Man, go ahead. I'm confused.
Here's the thing. This team seems like they will have their foot on the gas pedal from the get-go. Like, I think they're going to have a really strong start, a weak middle, and then I think they'll start having a strong start again near the end, like at Champs, where we're going to see Seattle Surge type of vibes where they're beating FaZe or whatever. Like, I think we'll start seeing that. So I think they're going to have a pretty good start. They're going to hit a point where everyone's just going to start surpassing them. They're going to have a bad middle period. Then at the end, they all, I think, have enough pretty good ice in their veins that they're going to do really good at like Champs or something.
I think this is more of a, I agree. I don't actually think this is a start slow roster, but like, and like they'll find their groove after like the first few weeks, or maybe by the time the season starts, like maybe they'll start slow in scrims, but by the year starts, like by the time the year starts, they'll be in a pretty good spot. Overall, S&D is still a little bit weird for this squad with how, I don't know how it's going to play in S&D for sure yet, but
yeah.
Again, like when it comes to like the Rostermania and the team that they actually built, like, I mean, it's for sure solid. Like it's definitely up there grade wise. Like you bring in Octane, that was kind of a lock though from the beginning. Octane wanted to go there. They didn't have to do much recruiting there. So it was like, all right, Kenny's probably staying around. And Kenny was like, yo, Octane, let's make this happen. Octane's like, yeah, I'm coming. And then, Kenny said that a potential roster that was at least possible for a second was him, Krim, Slasher, and Envoy. So basically,
that wouldn't have been so great, I don't think.
It would have been a weird situation there, depending
Krim
on what
Slasher
happened.
Would have been weird.
Yeah, that would have been a weird situation for sure.
Absolutely.
But like overall, when you're bringing in Octane, it's hard to like say you didn't have a good roster mania, and then you pair that with Envoy coming in. You keep Draza around, who still obviously has a lot of upside heading into the year. And then Kenny's, you know what you're getting with Kenny. So I agree with you that like with what was presented, like unless you could try to like finesse some sort of weird roster with like a Kleenex or you can figure out how to find one of those types of guys. Like, you know, it's hard to imagine that you're getting that much better than that. Like, would you rather have like a Neptune instead of a Draza on this team? Because like those are kind of the guys you'd be looking at otherwise.
Well, here's the thing: they're just they need their like key factors, or gonna have to have really good teamwork.
Mm-hmm.
For sure, like Dallas had their Shotsies. You can all people have their Simps. People have
Just
I was gonna
ASIMs.
say-
I would say they're ASIMs maybe. Like they're just people who's got some speed to them.
I was going to say, I feel
More
like
pizzazz.
an interesting change could have been is what if they held on to Hook, got rid of Kenny, put Draza on the like second AR role for sure. Then you have Octane, Draza, 2 ARs, then you have Hook
the
and
thing is, I
Envoy.
think that Octane wanted to play with Kenny, so it's like
Yeah.
I don't know if there's a world where you wouldn't have got Octane if you let Kenny go.
Mhm.
You know?
And I wouldn't
Yeah.
even get rid of Kenny either. I think Kenny. Good.
definitely.
It's hard though, because it's like Hook does have that potential though. Like I know he had that really just rocky year, but like
Would you rather have Hook or Draza? Like, let's say
Draza.
Kenny was the flex, and then you have Hook and Envoy, and then Draza.
I mean they
Draza's
just
gone.
play different roles though.
Hook has a reputation that he needs to build up again. It's not just coincidence that he was dropped like 5 million times. Like he's doing something wrong.
Yeah, for
Or
sure.
at
I mean,
least I shouldn't say he's doing something, but he's doing something that's not fitting in with what the core of this team wants. So if he stayed with LA Thieves, I think it would have just been the same story with him.
I don't know. I feel like him and Envoy they definitely like doing a lot of the same things, and it could work that way.
Mhm.
It would have
Definitely.
been interesting at least.
It could have been a really good sub duo, honestly.
Because right now, the biggest quote unquote risk for this team is whether or not Kenny actually likes running SMG still,
Yeah, absolutely.
or if Draza can be the elite SMG. Because
Mhm.
both of them last year looked better on AR.
Yeah.
So it's like, that's the biggest risk right now is who's going to pair well with Envoy and how that plays out. They have flexibility there, but that is a potential question mark.
Mhm.
Like for that reason, like because the roles aren't like fluently perfect here, I would
Mhm.
give it probably like a B plus or an
Mhm.
A minus. So
I was
I
gonna
would
say,
lean.
I don't
I'll
even
go
think I
A
would
minus.
I wouldn't even say A minus. I would say B plus for sure.
I would go A
just-
minus.
Just because of that, like you could definitely see like with the roles being a little shaky, and then even too just like losing that star power from
Letting some talent
from
go.
Hugh. Yeah. So
Okay.
that would be
All right.
my.
So
my
would you
last
rather
thing.
have a Draza, Kenny, Envoy, Octane roster? Or I'm sorry, Octane, Kenny, Envoy, Hook roster, or the current roster?
Current
you're
roster
saying-
for me.
You're saying lose Draza, get who?
For Hook, and then like Kenny to be your flex.
I think I'd rather have Draza, honestly.
Okay. Yeah, I mean that's totally fair.
Yeah.
And that's just a bet on Draza, which I mean if that's the case, and it's a bet
Yeah.
on one of them working on SMG.
Yes.
You know,
Mhm.
that's kind of the bet there. It's kind of the duo bet, but that's totally fair. I would. It's pretty split for me. I'd probably lean Hook still, but it's close. It's really close for sure. All right. Well, that's fair. So what's everybody's official grades? I'm giving A minus. Sam, what are you giving? B plus?
Yep. B plus.
Rex, what's your grade?
I'll go A minus. A.
All righty. Well, next up, we got a team who made just a ton of change, so many changes this offseason. It's like, well, they were so bad last year, they had to make some change.
Yeah.
And that's Atlanta FaZe. They're terrible. So, that little roster of Simpa, Beezy, Celium, and Arcides. How do you grade this roster, Mania?
That,
give him
that
an A
little
plus.
roster.
Congrats.
Yeah,
mean-
I don't know how you don't give them
Star student.
an A plus.
I mean, yeah, you win champs and you keep all 4 players. That's all
pretty
you need to
good.
do.
Yeah.
You had the
Yeah,
cards
yeah.
and you didn't lose them. So
It's crazy, man. I mean, when you dominate like they did last year, like thinking back on it and like looking at their records, it was just crazy. Like 37-7 on the whole season, or 39-7 on the whole season, I think is what it was. That is insane.
that's ridiculous.
39-7, and like in Control they won. It was absurd. I can pull it up here real quick. In Control they went 40-9. 40-9 in a game mode. They won 81.6% of their matches. Next highest was OpTic at 63.8 in control. That is crazy. Like, I don't know if we're ever going to see that again in a game mode ever.
No.
Like for the rest of COD.
No way. That's
So
ridiculous.
when you're doing that and you're maintaining their game and you're maintaining your roster, yeah, I mean that's an A+. Obviously, there doesn't have to be too much talk there. I think because
do you think there is a combination out there that's even better than this right now?
I mean that's kind of we had this conversation maybe before, but I don't know if you could build
I know
a roster better.
Like even if you could like say like someone's better than Celium
or someone's better than Arcides.
Better than Arcides, would it even fit the team though?
But would they be better with those guys? Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, that's really the thing, is a chemistry thing, and like it's just too good a chemistry on that team with too good of players.
I mean, Arcides have bad chemistry, but it works.
I think there are going to be in Cammy teams that are going to have like their own like mash of players, and they're not going to be like, they're just going to be like a counter to what FaZe does almost.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and we're going to start getting into like rock, paper, scissors, I feel like, with teams.
Right. Stell and Arcees have good chemistry though, let me tell you.
I will never get over that champs clip of Celium just annoying Arcides to no end.
Yeah. Oh my word. On the main stage. Like, you gotta be kidding me.
How do you have that much confidence to just do that?
I would love being a teammate with Celium. He'd be like absolutely goated.
Yeah.
But all right. Up next, a very interesting team. Florida Mutineers. Skies, Awakening, Dave Patty, my bad, and Havoc. Thoughts on this roster?
Dude, I mean, I don't know. It's a dark horse team
thoughts
again.
On how they deal with the roster. You know, how do they deal with roster mania?
They did pick up Dave Patty, and I think I like them taking the risks on players.
But what can be considered a huge downside is taking Yeez and then not putting him on the roster.
Well, Yeez is there though to put on the roster.
I know, but
and they keep saying like, "Oh, it's possible he could be on the roster." You know, like watch out.
Yeah.
Like,
but if we're like going,
they just keep like, it's basically like whispering to Havoc, like, "You could be benched at any second. You could be benched at any moment."
I do want to take that kind of against them. It's like, take him and put him on the starting roster. Like, don't be afraid. You know, your team wasn't anything special last year.
Why
you not put him on there?
Love how it's like it's really not giving like a vote of confidence to Havoc.
That is true. You're not wrong about that.
You know,
like I don't mind Dave getting picked up. I don't mind Awakening going to SMG. I think people have been like dumping on it, like Awakening on SMG. Like, you don't think Awakening can run an SMG? Because I think we saw enough of that last year where he just picked up a 74U and fried with it. That like he can run the 74U or an SMG, and we saw him do it in Modern Warfare. Like, it's not that crazy.
No.
Overall, the bigger thing to me is I think just that like vote of disconfidence in Havoc. Like they in their content, they say, yeah, Havoc can be the guy, but then they keep saying like Yeez could end up in the lineup. Just watch out, you know, like you never know.
Like
he could get started.
How do you feel for Havoc? Like constantly hearing that, it's like, why do I even want to play if you're like just like taunting this? Oh my word!
He got benched before last season with Neptune. Like,
yeah, I don't get that. You know, I like when you're judging that, and you know, obviously you lose Neptune, a potential, you know, breakout star. You know, we didn't see like a whole lot from him.
Well, Neptune was not learning on that team. He wasn't.
No. So
fair.
When you look at the overall, you know, picture of Florida, you lose Neptune, you bring in Dav Patey, and then you don't move Havoc. You pick up a player that you're teasing to be on the starting roster. I don't know. You know, it's not looking the greatest for them. You know, a few grades that popped into mind might be like a C+, might be like a B-.
Yeah, because I mean, like my thing with this team is basically like, you know, they didn't blame, but like they talked a lot about how their comms didn't work. Excuse me, last year with like Neptune and Awakening, how they're both kind of like quiet, low key players, and then you mix them with two very loud players in like Havoc and Skies, and so like you had two guys dominating too much of the conversation, and it wasn't working well, and so you bring in Dave. So there's a lot of pressure on Dave to be a really good communicator, be a leader in game. And it's his first year in the scene. So like he could be the key that unlocks this squad, or it could just not work at all. So there's some really big difference of outcomes here.
And Willett is the head coach, right?
Yeah, like them as a squad, yeah.
Yeah.
So it's like, that definitely scares me a little bit with the team. But overall, I think I like the risk, like the idea of risking to take Dave is really fun, and I like that idea a lot. But I'm definitely a little scared.
Yeah, it's I don't know. I thought they could have managed that better, honestly.
I'll give him a B.
Yeah, I'm gonna go B- because I think overall, like letting Neptune go with the potential upside he had, and not bringing in like a Vivid or another, like a Hook or another like elite SMG to pair with Skies and Awakening, wasn't ideal. Like in an ideal world, I think they would all say they'd rather have like one of those elite SMGs, like a Vivid or a Hook or someone like that to pair with them as veterans, and then have that younger player, then you bring in Dave, you know, as the rookie in himself, and then they can all kind of work that out. But it feels like they're lacking a little bit more of the upside that you'd like, or like the more guarantee of success. So
yeah,
I'll go B- probably.
Yeah, C+ for me. Just not having the confidence when you pick up a player.
Yeah,
who,
that's fair.
You know, could be a breakout star, and then don't start him, even if they do plan on starting him. After the first map, you know.
Yeah.
Just really.
Oh, Havoc, 20 and 26. You're out. See ya, buddy. Down to the bench. You know, like that's the thing. Or maybe they're gonna do that to Dave. Maybe Dave starts off weak in the first like 2 or 3 weeks.
Move Awakening
and then
back to
you're out. Awakening back to Flex. In comes Yeez. And then you're like, well, then now everyone's just losing confidence here.
Yeah.
You know, so I don't know. That's why it's a tough situation with that overall. Rex, what's your final grade?
B.
Okay. All right. Up next, a very fun squad. LAG, ASIM, Slasher, Hook, Gunless. And if all you guys out there saw like the High Vibes video of them doing their media day, I think I can probably pull it up here. Definitely good vibes for sure. And it seems like they're having a good time together with squad. So
LAG is going to get
transition?
Big. LAG is going to get bigger, I think.
If this roster stays together and is successful throughout the year, this content's going to do really well.
I think this roster can be successful. This has it feels like it has the right makings of something here.
Okay. Yeah,
like,
I mean,
ASIM and Hook,
video?
I think, are pretty team-oriented type of players. Slasher and Gunless, as you know, like their whole focus is the team, and they're maybe more confrontational with their approach. But I think ASIM and Hook are people who can also take that sort of approach as well. And this team could end up being a quite adaptable team, and I think it's only going to benefit them for the future.
One thing about this team is that the roles make so much sense. Like, yeah, like they have great players, and like with their respective roles. You know, you've got Slasher as a hard main AR. You've got Gunless who's been playing Flex for a while now. And then of course Hook and ASIM, I think, could be a really disgusting SMG duo. You know, where ASIM is allowing Hook to kind of do his thing, and then you have ASIM just kind of doing what he does best, and you know, kind of doing the dirty work of the SMG. You know, really. So
yeah,
and they're gonna have that really solid like backline of Gunless and Slasher.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
for sure, and they're gonna have good conversations,
their limits.
The biggest thing is like, you know, will Gunless and Slasher respect each other? Will they respect Hook? Will they respect ASIM? And like, how does that whole like feedback loop conversation work with the coaching staff and Ricky and all of them? They're coming together to kind of make that happen. And Doug and everyone. I think this team has a ton of potential. Like, yeah. And I see the hype around the team, and people are really excited for this squad. I mean, like, this video has almost 10,000 views, and for LAG, that's an incredible amount of views. So
there's real potential with this roster, real potential, especially from what we saw from ASIM and Cold War. If he can continue that, I don't know. You might have something nasty on your hands.
There is a world where like Hook and ASIM just don't work, though.
It could be
like their play styles are both like, they both can go rogue sometimes, and we've seen Hook and SM and S&D love being that island player and play out towards, like, in Miami, he was always the guy that played B and found ratty first bloods and stuff like that. And so if ASIM starts getting picked in first bloods, then Hook is now playing by himself then suddenly you have 2 ARs on one side of the map and then Hook on the other, and then they start struggling in search and destroy. So
Well, I think
can
they're
see a world where they
adaptable
actually.
players, though.
I agree.
Yeah.
And like Asum is there to win, and he'll do whatever it takes. I think I would imagine he's definitely going to respect Slasher and Gunless, who have great minds for the game. And I could see this team really working in the long term if they stick together. But this is a team that needs. I think they cannot make a roster change. Like they need to stick this thing out for a long time.
I agree.
Yeah.
Even if it's not working.
I agree.
And just let it rock.
For sure. And like no for shout outs, but hearing kind of Slashers, year in review on the flanking and the kind of how things are, and like you could tell in his voice like he really wants to play. Like I think he kind of realized
Definitely
how not fun it was, not being able to play and not being on the starting roster consistently. I think he's got a fire in him, and I think Gunless not seeing success in the past couple of years. Yeah, they may have butt heads and they could butt heads, but you've got to imagine they both have seen the dark side and kind of seen the like struggle side that they are willing to work together. So
for sure,
I think there is this like amazing like seed that's been planted for LAG to like just explode.
They definitely have the comeback story vibes.
They do,
because it's like Slasher, Gunless, and Hook had awful seasons.
Yeah.
Like just the whole, really a tough last 2 years, really.
Mm-hmm.
Hook obviously champs, but then terrible Cold War. And then Gunless and Slasher have just had tough 2 years now. And then you have Asum, who had a tragic end to Modern Warfare, kind of had that rebound, and then a really tough end to this year. So I think they have the cool underdog vibes. I think I like the team overall. And considering, so now like the real talk of the grades is how Rostermania performed, how this team came together and all that too. Like there were some rumors of other potential super teams that could have potentially happened with this squad. Like because I know there's like talk of like a potential like Slasher situation on this team with other guys, or like maybe Octane heading here and things like that were at least possible. All things considered, versus what other options could there even been? I mean, like they were replacing a whole roster, so they had to find the right duos to pair together and things like that. I think overall this is a really, really solid Rostermania.
I was going to say, in every aspect, they have pretty much upgraded. When you think of the previous team, and then you go to this team, and then really, like you said, with what they're working with, and not being able to take FaZe, OpTic, Subliners, getting the guys that they did, I think was a huge win. I mean, really, in all respects of it. So definitely a worthy A+, maybe just fair. From going where they were to now, they played the cards right 100%. So
LAG could end up being like a top 4 team this year.
I think it's hard to see this roster like completely collapse, just because they should be at least pretty competitive. But again, we saw the LAT team last year with a lot of talent still really struggle. So it's at least possible it doesn't work. But I like the odds of it either way. So I'm going to go A as well. I think I'm going to go A, and I like this team. Rex, what's your ranking?
A as well.
All righty. 3 A's across the board. Wow. Triple A's.
AAA
Love
game
it.
Call of Duty.
So speaking of interesting teams, now we got the Paris freaking Legion, baby. What's wrong with Paris? Well, they got a squad potentially now.
They do.
Felo, Temp, Decimate. John, obviously talked about it at the beginning of the episode. But let's build the context for how this team could have come together. Like, how'd they do with what they have? What would have been the best case scenario? Where are you at with this team?
Yeah, I think kind of like how I mentioned in the news section. When Shift was on, there definitely was this talk of like, if they aren't just picking up a full team from challengers, what are they doing? So like I think there was some sort of expectation there, possibly, to just pick up a challengers team. Paris probably doesn't have a lot of money right now. They're not doing a whole lot of content. Not a lot of coming in. So with that being said, this rumored roster of Felo, Temp, Decimate, and John, there's definitely a lot of like people kind of similar to the LAG story, where it's like these players have been in the CDL, kind of been not the great not so great performances, kind of got pushed down to challengers, so on and so forth. So I guess for me, the question is, was this a better option than picking up BBG or picking up, Saints, Mohawk,
Parasite.
Parasite.
Or you pick up
yeah.
Pro Loot and those
Yeah.
guys. Yeah, that's you just pick up the champs roster and you pick up the challengers champs roster and just go that route. Yeah, I agree with you. That probably is the debate with this roster. That's probably the best, most likely other option. Otherwise, you're talking about, because realistically, their goal is to not spend more than like the minimum or like near the minimum for any player. And so if that's their goal, this is a pretty decent roster. But then I guess the debate is, what is Paris Legion's goal? Are they trying to win champs? Are they trying to be are they trying to make champs? Are they just trying not to be the worst team in the CDL?
There's just no risks taken with this roster.
You just mean are you just saying you don't see the upside with the roster basically?
Not that I don't see the upside. Like there is that potential for upside, but there's no, Paris has been last place every single year, and it's through the same formula or whatever, and we get the same.
Well, to be fair,
this is such a Paris team.
Their roster in Modern Warfare was at least risky with having all of the Aussie players and going that route with it.
I guess, yeah. But we can look at Cold War, and then now we're looking at
yeah, but compared to the Cold War team, this is right on par.
Yeah, that looks like a Paris roster, and I feel like that's wrong. I feel like they needed to grab people, more no-name people from challengers. I get you want people that have that fame or kind of in the scene more with streaming and all that, and Twitter followers. I think that actually does matter in some way, especially for I don't know how involved they are with the game mentally. But I don't know. I wish two of the players switched out for less known other players at least. That,
right. I mean, this has always been my thing, is where you have some of the veteran guys who in their careers have never really been the lead slayers, or they haven't been for a while. It's tough to assume that multiple of them are going to bounce back to that in one team. The most recent example of this would be Bance bouncing back with the Ultra, where the last time we saw him be great was IW, but then he can be the fourth best player on a team, the quote unquote worst player on a team, but still be insanely valuable to the team and bring a lot of the important structure a team needs to win. Therefore, he's still really great. But when you have multiple veteran guys, it's hard to see the season long upside with this team unless John is quite literally turning into IWBO3 John again.
Yeah. See, and that's my thing too, is I think John has a place in the CDL 100%. But when you look at this team, you have a lot of those Johns.
You now need John to carry.
Exactly. And I don't think that's going to happen.
Nope.
Personally. So that's what's, just a little concerning. I do wish they would have, brought in some of that challenger, style players, because when you think about it, if you're just looking at, people who have been pros or who have played in CDL, and you're a team like Paris, you're not going to get the top 50% of players who have been in the CDL, because no one's going to want to come to a bottom team. So you have to take risks. And so them not taking any, real risks here is a little concerning.
What's the best narrative for this team? Decimate is a legit, really good S&D player. Last year we saw Decimate play really great S&D when on the Subliners, and legitimately looked like an elite S&D player in his time there, and he had that insane express S&D map and looked really good with some of the reads he was making, things like that. So maybe he helps lead the way in Search and Destroy. Then you have John and Temp
Temp has
finding
to be,
some more of that slaying.
Yeah,
but Temp has to be an elite slayer.
Temp has to be his Black Ops 4 form. For this team to work, Temp has to be Black Ops 4 form, and John has to be Black Ops 3 form. That has to be it. it can't just be all 4 guys just kind of doing, the average. It's just not going to work.
The problem is that we haven't, like, Decimate in his career, he's shown flashes at so many different times of really solid play, but like dating back even to his time, like back in World War II on like Envy with like Hook back at that time, they finished, let me, if I can pull it up here. They finished top 6 at champs, like with that team. Then you head into BO4 when he was on that Envy squad for a while with Ake, Silly, Gunless, and Assault. They finished like top 8-ish, somewhere in their time. And so it's just like, then they finished top 16 with Gunless, Assault, Silly, and Akes, and Decimate at champs in BO4. Then you head on to the LAG roster. So it's like Decimate in his career individually has had so many flashes of really impressive play, and he's shown a lot of potential. And in Challengers last year, he really looked great. I mean, he looked fantastic in Challengers last year. And then he came into New York Seattle was obviously frustrating. Then he basically benched himself from Seattle after 2 weeks or 3 weeks.
Yeah.
But then you go to New York and he looked great in his short time at the stage 4 major. So it's kind of hard to decipher there. And then you have Felo as well, who's in a somewhat similar boat too.
Yeah. What's scary is that this is a roster where someone could end up retiring because it just doesn't go well, such as John or Temp.
That's fair.
So it's
that's fair.
That's what scares me. Is like, I don't want any of these guys to retire, but when you set yourself up for this roster with these, roles, it doesn't look too
right.
promising.
With how Aqua called his team like a pickup squad last year as like the leftovers and all those things getting put in tough spots. Like, this is obviously not, if Felo, Decimate, John and Temp could choose their rosters, I'd imagine this wouldn't be their first pick.
Well, it's nobody's first pick.
Yeah, so it is a tough situation. Overall, with like how Rostermania went for all of these guys and for Paris, I mean, it's not the worst case scenario for a team.
No.
But it's definitely not best case scenario. I would lean like a C.
Yeah. Like, when you compare it to the old roster, I think there is some brighter spots, I'd say.
I agree.
But
yeah, I agree.
When
it's just incremental, it's just not that much of a brighter spot.
I do wish they would have taken a little bit more of a risk, personally, with the roster. So
yeah, I think I'm on that boat too. Like, just pick up a raw amateur squad and see what happens.
Yeah, I'd give it a C+.
Okay, Rex, what's your final grade?
I'll give it a C.
Alrighty. Well, next another team who just so many changes. It's insane. It's like you can't even keep track out here, like they're swapping them in and out and in and out. Like, oh my word. It's the Toronto Ultra. Cammy, Inside, Bans, and Kleenex, the runner-up, the COD champs, the stage 2 major champions of last season. The second European team to win a tournament on US soil. No big deal. Yeah, Insight Rookie of the Year. They maintained the whole squad. There was rumors of Kleenex potentially trying to find a new home, but he didn't. And now we're here.
Hey, great job.
Yeah, I mean, I would say with everything Toronto's got going for him, I don't know if you can't give it. I would give him an A+.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Do you think anyone's like mad that they wouldn't have tried something else? Like, I know they came in second a couple of times. Was there a risk to take to try to make the squad
bring in
FaZe?
a Nasty or something like that? Like to try to figure something out?
Do you try to recruit Afro for Bance?
No.
That's what I'm saying. Like, what do you do here? I feel like you got to keep the squad,
Yeah. I do too.
To keep Kleenex, there was like a real world where Kleenex could have left. There's a real world where someone else would have tried, maybe a Cammy tries to get out of town. Like, overall, to keep that team and run it back in 2021 in Vanguard. I
think they're only going to get better and better.
Yeah.
A+.
I think there's still room for these guys to grow together, and I think a win is for sure in the future. So I'd give it A+ too.
Yeah. I think that's about right overall. Rex, where you at?
Yeah, I'm going to give them an A. I think they're always going to have potential to win champs, I feel like. For a long time. Like, I feel like this is a long-standing team.
Yeah. Fair play. I agree. So, all right, next up then. is that Washington DC, the Demon Cats.
Demon Cats.
We got Methodz, Vivid, Paul X, and Teej. And again, we already talked about them a little bit, but this is a weird situation. Obviously, Washington, D.C. supposedly, none of this is even announced yet. So we're still basing a lot of things here. Washington, D.C. supposedly is buying the NRG spot from Chicago, moving it to D.C. We got the supposed Demon Cats, and we got the supposed roster of those 4. How'd they do?
Yeah. So should we compare this roster then to OpTic?
No.
No.
Okay.
This is basically comparing this to Paris. I feel like they're in the same boat.
I think they did all right. This is just an odd mashup of people, it feels like. I personally, I would have tried to get one like lesser known person, like amateur player who hasn't been in the pro scene yet, who has a lot of potential. You got your Saints, you got your Pro Loots, you got Parasite, you got...
Yeah, well, Saints has already been in the pro league, but yeah, I know what you mean.
But yeah, you know what I mean. Like somebody who's like, just, I don't know, take more of a risk. With this, it's just like, this is...
Right, like you're looking to
LAG
rekindle
of the past.
The Rise Nation vibes with Teej and Methodz, and then you have another dynamic SMG and Vivid. You have a very naturally talented Flex and Paul X.
Yeah.
I will say, I think it'd be easy to look at this team on paper and be like, okay, meh. But I think Paul X has a lot more to show too. Like, Paul X is a phenomenal player, like no doubt. So I think if you pair him up with the right players, he can definitely show up and show out. So the question is, do we think he can get it done with this squad?
How smart can these players be?
Mm-hmm.
I think that's the real question.
I don't know if I like the Teej move, personally.
I mean, this is Teej's last chance. This is Teej's this is his redemption arc, or this is his, his way out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, he has to perform. He has to be a very solid SMG this year. Because, I mean, like,
if he wants to reclaim the status he had before, at least.
Yeah, and like to immediately get back on a roster, to stay in the league for sure, guaranteed.
Mm-hmm.
There's still a world where it could work out for him. I mean, he's obviously good buddies with a lot of people in the league, so that definitely is an advantage, to say the least. Yeah. But, I'm with you. This is, there's a lot on the line there for these guys. And so I'm a little torn, though, because, like, with Vivid, obviously he was the best SMG out there available. He's the guy that anyone who was still trying to build a team was trying to scrap for and get. Mm-hmm. He showed the potential. But, like, when you compare him to his situation now with Dallas, that's as ideal as it gets. You're playing with Shotzzy, you have Krim with you, Illy. Like, there's a lot of fundamental there to be very, very good, and it's still a lot of potential. So, like, that's why, like, I had a ton of confidence in Vivid there with Dallas to make it work. And after, in stage 4, the stage 4 major, like, oh my word, like, this might be it. It didn't fully come to fruition there in stage 5, but overall, like, with what DC had to work with, I mean, this squad's very solid. I would go B+.
Yeah. I think getting Methodz, who has shown to be a phenomenal AR within the challenger scene,
very respectable overall.
Very much so. Yeah,
you pair him with the high upside Flex, you pair him with the high upside SMG, and then you have another veteran who has past history with Methodz to build the squad. It's not bad. It's really not.
No, I would have loved if John and Teej switched teams here, like for DC. I think that would have been a better squad personally. But apparently it didn't happen. So I would say, all things considered, this is a solid B roster move.
Like, if this team had Pred, if this was Pred, Vivid, Paul X, and Methodz, I'd be like, love that. Because it's just a weird risk.
Sick. Oh, for sure. Yeah.
But
I would have loved that risk too. But
we're banking on Teej being Rise Nation Teej.
Which we haven't seen
since Rise Nation. Which, to be fair, you could argue we saw it in BO4, but he was the War Machine. Like, I don't know. It was a little bit weird situation there. 5v5, tough situation. But the last 2 seasons, Modern Warfare, Cold War has not been Teej's best. So it's like you're rekindling a lot of fire there, and it's hard to bank on. So, alrighty, yeah. So wait, sorry, what were your guys' grades here?
B.
Okay, I'll go B+. Fair play. The London Royal Ravens are up next.
I love this squad.
Sam, lead the way.
It's already an A for me. I'm gonna spoil it out.
Fire away.
I think London did an amazing job of taking a risk, but then also having like a stable core. Obviously, they are building around Afro, who we saw last year. Tons of good moments from him. I know the London squad didn't have much success, but I would argue that would be more of a managerial standpoint of switching out players that made no sense. I know I could rehash the whole Alex thing a billion times.
A few times.
But having Afro as your main core, star player, phenomenal. You bring in Zero back, who again ties with London and the Europe squad. I think Zero could have been a great player last year, but with the whole visa situation and all that, rough. You then bring in Nasty and Gizmo, who I think have incredibly high upside. You're taking a risk on these players that have shown high potential in the challenger scene, and you're bringing them on the squad. I think this is going to be an amazing meld of players who have already played in Zero, and then of course Afro had half a season. And then giving Gizmo and Nasty a chance. And I don't know, they had that chemistry last year, obviously playing together in the AM scene. Yeah. So I am obviously I'm extremely high on Afro. I chose him in my Dynasty squad.
You did. You were very high on Afro.
Yeah. So I'm full blown for this team. I hope this team has so much success, because I think that is going to be an amazing squad to watch unfold. Especially Afro, I think he'll be a star player for a couple of years to come now. So that's where I stand on this London squad.
Okay. Yeah, I agree. Pretty much everything Sam said, I agree with. I like the balance of having Zero, who's like your veteran mind, and you have like these 3 young guns. Afro is kind of like spearheading the way with that, since he's already been in it a little bit.
So besides that on Afro, I was going back and I did like ranking the top rookie seasons of Cold War video. And like going back and looking at his stats in his short amount of time was pretty crazy. I hadn't really looked at his stats. Like, I mean, I knew he was like top 10 in a lot of them and like very, very good. But like he was up there in like every single one. It was insane. It was like in damage per life, in KDs, in first bloods, in kills per 9 rounds, and control. Like he was across the board insane. And to do that when your team's getting smoked is still hard to do. And like maybe that goes to show there's maybe some more going on there with like him not always playing together with the squad or whatnot, or like not maximizing his teammates in certain ways. But at the same time, he's definitely winning gunfights. That's for sure. And he can definitely do that. And we saw him snap off at times, and there was gunfights he should have never won. So I agree with that, Rex.
Yeah. Like I think they did I give them an A for what they did in Rostermania. They did exactly what I think they needed to do. If you even remember, Zero was originally supposed to be on that Ravens team for Cold War.
Yeah.
And he even played in like the whatever show
he played
matches
from London.
And he was he was the best one on his team on worst
he was like paying. He was like paying like 100 something. And he was still like the best player on the team.
Yeah, and then they dropped him. It's like, man, wasn't he like their best player still though?
Yeah, it was really unfortunate. So that's where I get interested to see kind of how it ends up going down. But Gizmo still, Nasty has definitely shown over time that he can definitely do it. Gizmo is the biggest risk here, which we just don't know how it's going to play out with Gizmo. I would think he's still going to be a pretty good spot. But again, like, when you get to land and with young guys, a lot can happen. That's why I'm hedging my bets with this team. But when it comes to Rostermania and building a squad that has upside to be a top 4 type team, when you're not going to be getting the Camis and Kleenexes and Insights of the world because they're already on Toronto, this is about as good of a squad as you're going to put together that's all European. And it looks really, really solid moving forward. So I'd go an A minus. I really like this team a lot. Fair play.
Alrighty. Yeah, alrighty.
So next team is the Minnesota Rokkr. And I mean, no surprise here. They didn't make a move. They obviously won stage 5. They, with the nice roster of Standy, Major Maniac, Priest, and Attach. Accuracy, of course, was their substitute. He's now gone. But that's their squad of 4. Thoughts on this team? A B.
I think some change should have happened with the squad.
Really?
I mean, I guess, I don't know. Like, here's the thing. I think this squad is going to be middle of the pack, maybe just touching upper middle of the pack, but just don't really see it going much further than that.
Why would it? Why
So it
couldn't they get to the stage 5
with
form
that or not? What's that?
What'll hold them back from getting back to the stage 5 form that they found?
Priesta.
I think, I mean, yeah, Priesta, I think some of these players kind of, they ride waves and there's some inconsistencies. We'll see how Standy does going into season 2. I mean, it was his rookie year. He's wide-eyed and doe-eyed, ready to take on the world, but now he's been there for a little bit and like,
now there's expectations.
and now there might be a little more,
Okay.
Like, I don't know how to, like, it's just going to be a little bit harder now. I feel like
how much time do you give Priesta to be more consistent? I feel like he's the inconsistency on this roster.
Well, Priesta thrives on the passion pit. If there's lands, maybe that'll bring him back.
Yeah, I mean, the LAN, you definitely like this team on LAN. I mean, they're going to have composure. We saw Standy still absolutely dominate on LAN. Like, there's no question marks there with this team. Like, they're going to be solid. Whereas, like, London has question marks. DC, all these teams have a ton of question marks. Rokkr doesn't really have any, like, massive question marks. We know they're going to be at least solid, good. Like, they're going to be
I think
competitive.
they get surprises.
I don't see them not being, like, a top 7 team. Like, they have to be there. The question mark is, do they have the upside to get to that top 3, top 4 and win champs? And yeah, they definitely caught fire at stage 5. And, we've seen teams do that before in a tournament, but, keeping it consistent over a long period of time is what makes the greats the greats. And I think that's kind of goes to what you're talking about with Major Maniac and Priest.
In the top 7.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, look, we have LA Thieves, who I think could be better than them. FaZe, who will be better than them. I think LAG has potential to be better than them.
OpTic NYSL, but that puts you at
OpTic
number 7.
NYSL. I think London as well. I think London could end up being better than them.
One thing that could be a problem is, like, we've seen it before where, like, you have a superstar that probably feels like he's being held back by his team. So you wonder if, like, Standy will get to a point where it's like, I'm better than what we're placing. I want to move rosters. So that would be like a huge bombshell too.
Interesting.
During the year.
I think they're too nice.
I think we have just, I don't know. This team just has, because we know how good Priesta and Attach have been and can be. And then Major Maniac, I mean, at stage 5, Major Maniac was an absolute unit. Like, he was one of the best players of that tournament.
I mean, LAN might change everything, which that's how it feels like.
Yeah. And like,
we'll
they
see.
still played very well at champs, but like, they were definitely not any pushover team at champs, that's for sure.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, that's where I feel like overall this team's still really, really fun.
Yeah.
And I'm looking forward to seeing them overall, and like maintaining your roster. I would still give it an A. So
I would just say, like, I'm nervous for them to be kind of stuck in that, like, 4th
the
spot,
middling,
know.
Never finding that top 3 potential.
Exactly. So, but I would say B+. I guess really, like, any roster move could be pretty controversial, especially after their end of year
Stage 5's
performance.
win.
Yeah. So I would say B+. Like, nothing wrong with it for sure. Maybe you could take a risk and sub out, Priesta maybe, but
or Major Maniac.
Yeah. But
That makes sense. Fair play. All right. Seattle Surge. Accuracy, Sib, Pred, Mac. A really interesting team here. I mean, they had, this is going to be an interesting grade because, again, they were put in a tough situation. I mean, their whole team wanted to leave. They've been terrible for 2 years. But again, their management doesn't have the best rep of being supportive and being willing to spend money to get players. And they obviously went with a cheaper roster than most with this team. But they took chances that gave themselves upside, which is always appreciated. And I think positive and well received.
I agree.
Even if it doesn't end up working out. So where are you at with this team?
I feel like Phoenix, being a reputable and successful challengers head coach, going into Seattle's their head coach, is adding a lot more.
It's an advantage
to this squad of 4. With you have Accuracy, who's going to be your veteran name, who I think is going to be the one that I have the most worries about, and then Sib, Pred, and Mac. I'm pretty confident in what Mac can do, though he has his inconsistencies. Maybe he can fix them. Sib, for the most part, I think people have a pretty good view on him and that he's a really good player. Pred, apparently he's pretty good. I think Accuracy is your one guy where he's going to be challenging, or he's going to be the most likely to challenge what Phoenix says. And I just think it's important for coaches to have that sort of like respectful relationship. But who knows how that will go down with them. But all in all, given what they had to deal with, I'll say a B.
It's interesting because we are recording this obviously before teams sign their subs.
It's not a bad response to seasons they've had, honestly.
No. So like this is what's interesting, that we're recording this obviously before teams sign their substitutes, or we're doing this kind of topic before that. Who they sign as their substitute is going to say a lot.
Yeah.
Like what if they signed like I don't know, like an AR from the AM scene? Like what if they signed like a Parasite as their sub, or something like that, where you're like, oh, like maybe they could see a world where Accuracy gets benched, or you sign, a different guy from the AM scene, obviously that could be a Gravity. You sign Gravity as your sub, and now suddenly you're like, okay, they're preparing for a world where Accuracy could get benched, or they're signing like another SMG to kind of hedge their bets against the Pred, but not being the guy, or something along those lines. So that'll be interesting to see, to follow kind of who they end up signing as their sub.
Yeah,
definitely. Yeah, no, I will say I really do enjoy seeing the risk they took with Sib and Pred. I think it's phenomenal. I know with like Pred, it could be that obviously that with him dominating the Australian scene, and then him coming here, it could be pretty different. But to like grab someone that has been on top of that scene, I think it's a phenomenal move. I know I've said in the past too, I have my concerns with Mac, kind of being consistent, but he could show up
on SMG.
Exactly. Accuracy too. It's hard. Part of me wants to say,
are we getting World War II accuracy here, baby?
Part of me wants to say like maybe they should have gone with the risk on the AR2, bringing in Tom
and
Gravity,
just brought in like a Gravity or something.
But I think there is also a world where, like we mentioned in this episode, Bance, kind of having that return moment. There is a possibility that Accuracy has that comeback moment where he is a top AR in this game and he is dominating and he's leading Sib and Pred.
Right. Now that he has a lot of control on the roster, you can kind of run it his way.
Yeah. So I actually do like what Seattle did here. I honestly, I'm giving them a B+ because I do like the risk. I do like what they did with what they had. And I just hope though, what we've seen with the management before, I hope their management policies change, and I hope they start to kind of, care more.
If they're willing to bring in those changes if it's needed.
Yeah. So that's going to be like the main thing here is what are they going to allow this team to do if things aren't going right? And that kind of thing. But I do like where they are headed and where they're starting from. So,
side note with the Toronto Ultra, we forgot to mention that they signed Hixie as their sub.
Yes.
And I freaking love that. So A+ for Toronto Ultra.
Yes, true. Yeah. Even better.
Forgot to mention that.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I'm with you. I'm with you there. Like, if the sub's not what, if someone's not working, if accuracy's not working, you bring in the amateur player. If Pred's not working, you bring in the Pentagram or Spart or someone like that to replace them or something like that. I think that's gonna be pretty important for this team if things aren't working after the first few stages.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah,
So
I am very much looking at Pred too. Like I'm very curious how he's going to be with being from that scene and now here. So
with you, like what you guys said, all things considered, maybe you go the route of signing the like maybe they were trying to get the LAG type roster, but they weren't able to get them because of the branding that now the kind of the negative connotation with a lot of the pros in the scene about this team after Octane absolutely roasted them after he was off contract. So with those things considered, I'll give them a B+ with this roster, considering the upside that they built for themselves on the cheap.
Yeah, agreed.
So there you go. All right. Well, last few teams here. Basically, next up is it's OpTic. It's OpTic Dallas, or OpTic Dallas. Obviously not officially announced yet, but might be happening here in the next week or so. Shotzzy, Scump, Illy, Dashy. We talked a lot about this team. We talked a lot about this squad. And it's hard to even call this a roster mania because it's like a business move.
Yeah, it's emerging. It's weird.
So when we get more information exactly about how this roster formed, like was it like Scump was like, I want a team with Shotzzy and Illy, let's make it happen, or was it we need to merge with Dallas right now, or else we're gonna go broke. Let's merge. It's like it's hard to know which side of the coin that was. But what's your thoughts?
Yeah, you're looking at both teams, OpTic and Dallas, and kind of merging the two together and trying to figure out, hey, was this the best of both worlds from both rosters? And I think you're looking at a really good merger. You're taking Scump and Dashy, OpTic lost Envoy, which is
but you're replacing Envoy with Shotzzy.
Exactly. So it's like you're replacing
Vivid with Scump.
Yeah. So I think when you look at
that's a win-win.
when you're looking at it from the Dallas side, I think it's for sure a win. But then when we look at from the OpTic side, obviously Formal retired, so you're not going to get Formal. He's just gone.
Yeah.
And then of course Envoy. So yeah, I honestly think from both sides this is a plus. Again, I know me, and then when Shift was on here, the Dashy Illy combo could be maybe a problem, maybe not. Right. They could be discussing.
They have a lot of history together, and it's like there's that going for them. But you can definitely see the argument of like, how's the in games come, the direction, the communication, the vibes when things aren't going well, these types of things. Like, how will that play out? Is definitely interesting.
But like with like Scump's year of like Cold War, he had a phenomenal year in Cold War.
Yeah,
and then you pair that with Shotzzy, I think they could be potentially like one of the best sub duos in the game.
Shotzzy and Illy, guys who just don't get off the game, feels like the type of player that Scump needs with him at this point. Like just someone to be like, let's play, like let's get on. I want to play. Like let's get on and grind. And like
definitely something OpTic
pull
needs.
Scump in. And I feel like that grinder mentality is really important for Scump right now. And I think, but the thing is, like, I think Envoy had some frustrations, or like he wanted to play more, but like Scump, with Scump and Formal together, it felt like they were always just kind of lacking something. Like at this point in their careers, like whether it was just that extra edge.
Yeah, I think when you had those two together, kind of in the same like career mindset, they weren't like super gung ho about trying to get on and playing more hours than just scrims. So
and
I think
getting in the VOD review and giving themselves as many assets as they need to compete at the highest level. Like those the small things that some of the newer players have been doing weren't necessarily happening for OpTic last year. So those are things that are going to be pretty interesting to kind of track this year, see how it plays out.
And then not to mention too, with like the coaching staff situation
Rambo
too, with like having Rambo there. Assuming Rambo, and then maybe you bring
I would
in,
imagine Sender would still be there, but I don't know. Yeah.
Like OpTic desperately needed that last year, a way better, like
a little bigger team,
a more bigger team around them too. So I think overall, when you look at this like merger and then, Rostermania, this is definitely a positive.
This is an A for
100%. So I'd give it an A, definitely.
I agree, Rex.
A.
Alrighty, fair play. And the last but not the least for sure is the New York Subliners. Hydra, Neptune, Clayster, Crim. Just announced, obviously, you have Clay and Crim, the Modern Warfare champions, reuniting the duo themselves. And you have two young phenoms, rookies last year, sophomores this year, lining up together, Hydra and Neptune. And so this is talk about a fun roster to put together.
Yes.
First and foremost, Rex, are you gonna put on the bag? I've been waiting all
put
episode
on
long.
the bag.
Yeah,
I want to at least see it. You might have to take off your headset, but
Put on the bag like King Neptune.
there you go.
that's right.
There it is.
Oh, there it is. You
Wow.
love
Where is
seeing
my
that.
trident, SpongeBob?
I mean, hey,
That looks good on you.
it does look
I
good
know-
on you.
I mean, I don't think he can hear us, but he looks, that's a sexy man right there. Wow, what a sexy
Wow.
man.
Just phenomenal, Rex.
You're the best garbage bag hat I've ever seen. But yeah, so I mean, this team's gonna
You guys
be
can unpause the video now.
this team is gonna be unbelievably fun to see how it plays out, and like it definitely gets me excited to see this kind of like young with old experiment kind of work out, or how it could work out together. And if you guys watched the flank with JP came on to talk, it was really interesting how they talked about it. I thought it was a really, really fun like conversation there, because basically they talked about how they said that they're going to have an order in place this year with how they talk and communicate. And they're going to be, after maps, they're going to be going coaches first. So Bobble and JP talk first. Then the young guys talk before Crim and Clay, that they get their opinions out, their thoughts on what could be improved in that map or that match or that scrim before Crim and Clay talk, and then Crim and Clay counter. And that's going to be their order with how they talk this year. So they have a lot of structure with their feedback this year.
So you have to assume that might have been the issues maybe in Cold War that were going on. Maybe Clay was taking too much control.
Maybe. Yeah,
it is
very possible.
I think it's interesting to like have that. It's gonna be very interesting when like stuff like happens and like they all want to talk at once, and like maybe something serious happens or someone's like really pissed off and doesn't want to follow that structure. Yeah,
but that could definitely happen with Crim and Clay.
Yeah, I think that'll be interesting to have. But I do really like the set plan. Like they're clearly preparing for success. They want
conflict and success.
Exactly. Like they want the best out of this team, and so I think that's awesome. I think that just also shows the benefits of having a big coaching staff around your players
and veterans. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
like the communication here will be so like just picturing Crim talking to Hydra on a regular basis. I don't know why it's like funny in my head thinking about it. Like
it actually isn't it?
Crim like
Crim
was
and
gonna
Hydra
come
might
off
be
so
the duo right there.
He's
It might
gonna
be
say
funny.
some things and Crim and Hydra's gonna be like, what? Like what did you just say? Like, like it's gonna make no sense. Like you Mongolian scumbag. Like what in the world? Like it's just gonna be a weird situation with how Crim addresses Neptune. Some of the sayings that Crim has, I bet it's gonna fly right over Neptune's head.
Hydra, you mean?
Poor Neptune.
Or I mean, sorry, Hydra's head, not Neptune.
Yeah.
Hydra's head.
Neptune, you're just an idiot. You don't understand anything.
But yeah, with Neptune though, I mean, again, that's kind of why they wanted to put that in place is what they're talking about, because Neptune, with how there were the calm situations with him, they wanted to make sure they established the young guys having the ability to talk and feel confident talking to and back to Clay and Crim. So having that, I think that structure for feedback could be crucial for them. And I really liked hearing JP talk about that.
Yep.
And having that situation. So
well,
with
New
that
York
ideas
just
and them
keeps
thinking
doing
through
things
that,
right and more right all the time. It seems
I agree.
like.
Is there any beef still with Neptune and Crim?
And Crim, yo, come on, show me your settings right now.
Show me your settings right now.
Show me your settings.
That is funny
Like,
though.
bruh,
How that can
unreal.
happen.
Yeah. So I mean,
You think the old dogs will be able to keep up, Clayster and Krim?
That's the question. I mean, Krim is a flex. You're banking on Krim being a very solid flex this year, and then Clay has to be a top 5 AR. So if you think that's very possible, then this team is an A Rostermania. It's definitely risky with Neptune, but the upside is there, and this team could win champs. Like this is the upside potential is there for a champs win.
Yeah, I do like this roster move.
We'll see. We haven't seen something like this yet, where it's 2 old dogs and 2 young dogs. Like in Modern Warfare,
like
it was
in 5v5, it makes sense.
The majority was these young guns, where now it's like we're really split 50-50 here. And like the impact you have on the map.
And one of them doesn't speak English very well.
So it's like more.
There is some very interesting. This is the most interesting team to me heading into Vanguard.
Who knows how it'll go? Who knows?
Yeah.
But I have high hopes. Clayster was a killer in Cold War. He was one of the best.
My only thought is that there's a world where I think you could have put together an even better team, because it's like this team is like Hydra and Clay are 2 such like attractive pieces, I'd imagine, to a lot of players, that like there could have been a world where you could get like, would you rather have Envoy and then like a different flex besides Krim? Or would you rather stick with the high upside and let Krim and Clay mold Neptune into being?
Well, first things first, I'm pretty sure Envoy hates Clayster. But I like adding Krim to the equation. I think we would have just seen, unless you can like maybe get like, I don't know, an Illy or a Shotzi maybe. But yeah. I like the addition of Krim. I think he's going to be a valuable voice to the team. It's not going to be just Clayster pulling his own hair out. He's going to have Krim to pull his hair out with him. And you just be dealing with Neptune and Hydra. You don't really have to worry about what Krim's doing, and Krim doesn't really have to worry about what Clay's doing so much. It's like focusing on Hydra and Neptune. And so they can really mold them into working with them.
Krim's feedback is going to be how he delivers the feedback here is going to be crucial on this year. And then just like what Clay said last year, has like that. How Clay kind of interpreted Krim's opinions.
Yeah, exactly.
And delivered it in a nicer way. I think kind of JP and Bobble with Krim and Clay, or with Clay, are going to have to really do that with Krim. So it's fun. I think overall I'm going to go A. I'll give him the A here, but I was thinking A, maybe an A-, but
we'll go A.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think
A as well. Another triple A here.
Triple A.
Oh, baby. So with that said, boys,
NYSL. Choo-choo.
That was the grading process. I mean, those are some passing grades overall. I mean, it's a pretty decent report card.
That's good.
Yeah, pretty decent report card overall. I think everyone's pretty happy with those teams, with what those teams' context was for their rosters. So overall, with that said, intelligent or irrelevant, it's that time of day. Let's hit it.
The ability to speak does not make you intelligent.
Sammy! Intelligent or irrelevant, it's time again, baby. What's going on? What do we got?
Man, okay.
What's the word?
So,
what's the news?
This could be...
What's intelligent? What's irrelevant?
Anything. We'll see. Basically,
I can't wait to hear it.
Really?
So what's the question?
Question is,
this is segment
simply
3.
This. Who out of the 4 listed here is going to have the best career? And so here are our options. Standy. Insight. Interesting one. Afro / Neptune / Paul X. So kind of throwing 3 in there.
Trio.
And then Hydra.
Very interesting. I'm not sure who the public's going to take here. I'm pretty split. I would lean Hydra.
I think the public will say Hydra.
I think the public will say Hydra too, but I think Afro makes a case for himself.
Really?
I know.
I think Insight, people could vote Insight. People could vote Standy.
Insight's an AR. It's just so...
I know. I would love to see like people take a risk on Afro again, But I think Hydra has the most hype behind him for sure.
I mean, Insight could easily have the best career though.
Oh,
like he's set up to have the best career right now.
Out of the 4, definitely.
But again, Hydra could easily win champs this year.
Yeah.
Which will also mean Neptune would win champs. So if that happens, then which one of these guys, I think we've had a debate like this before, but like it'll be interesting to see which one of these guys wins champs first.
Mm-hmm.
But
So,
all right, well,
I'll vote for the Afro option just because I think that's probably
because
the
you're
least.
biased.
I am. Okay.
Well, I'm
so
excited to see.
Here we go. 42.9% say Hydra.
Oh, that's
Yeah,
pretty
Hydra.
high. Okay, makes sense.
31.4% say Standy.
Wow.
And then
stand up for Standy.
19% say Insight.
Wait, so how many was the last one?
6.7%.
Interesting.
So definitely low on the old Afro Neptune Paul X combo.
You get a 3 for 1 there. Only 6% said that.
Yeah.
What are some of the people saying?
We have a absolute goat in our replies. NYSL Gersh. Neither Illy.
Very on brand.
Very great.
Very on brand.
But
Matter of
then
fact.
he does reply. He says, but besides that, it's Paco for sure. He's shown god tier gameplay as well
Also
as being able
biased.
to insert himself
He's a
under the help
Paco.
of an IGL veteran,
Zapaco from a French land.
allowing him to use that for further development. So
Okay.
very fair, very fair.
Very fair.
We have Dangled Sniper saying Wandy, which I assume is
Shout out
Standy.
Wandy. It's Standy.
Let's see.
The Wanster.
Snuffleupagus says, taking Hydra here, but as a betting man, I should have just picked the option with 3 players. Standy is my favorite of the bunch, and I think they're all going to be
Hydra.
around a while, but Hydra looks different when he plays.
That's
Ooh,
fair
so
play from
true.
Snuffleupagus.
He was going toe-to-toe with the Tiny Terrors every match.
Mad facts. Mad facts.
And then the last 2 here, just because we only had about 7 comments. Our main man Desma, always out, always here. Disregard what
Absolute
Gersh
goat.
said. I listened to Rex, aka ShadyNero, and put Illy in my draft buff, and
Oh,
he didn't live up to
no.
the hype.
Okay,
I
well.
think Standy has potential to be a huge name, not only competitively, but I think he's very personable and likable.
Desma, you got baited, dude.
There's no
And
bait.
Last
No
but not
bait.
least,
Illy will come back stronger than ever this year.
Hughes. Standy's got to be the answer here. Has the keys to the team as opposed to Crim Clay dynamic with Hydra.
Oh, interesting.
More of a prime position as an SMG, and already a lot of the leadership and storyline. Stage 5. comeback.
Interesting. Okay. Interesting. I mean,
I'm just not a believer. I'm not.
Insight and Standy have the advantages so far with already event wins under their belt. So like they have the lead right now when it comes to best careers.
Mhm. Yeah,
Insight definitely has the lead because he's the rookie of the year.
definitely. But yeah, no, I think it's clear that
I was
Standy
surprised
is.
Insight didn't have a higher vote. Where are the Europeans at?
I wonder if it's
standing up
because
for
he's
Insight.
overrated.
How's he?
Whoa,
overrated?
spicy. Yo, people in the chat, drop your thoughts down below on this because I'm interested to hear what you guys have to say about Insight, Standy, and Hydra versus Afro, Neptune, Paul X.
Well, clearly people think he's overrated. They didn't vote for him.
That's interesting.
Huh.
I would lean. Standy is very interesting because realistically, I could see. This is such a fun rookie class. Legitimately, all of them could have legitimately insane careers. Like, I would lean Insight's set up for the best career right now. But
If the team implodes, though,
if New York wins champs, then things get crazy.
Yeah.
For Hydra's
That's true.
potential.
Insight, I think, is the most stable pick.
He's the safest pick.
I say, like that team, I really believe that team is going to be a really consistent team throughout for a long time.
Yeah, it's really possible. So, but Standy, if he ends up having the right teammates around him, he could be insane.
Yeah.
I'm not. Who would you guys pick? Who would you say?
Hydra.
I would say Insight, honestly.
I'd probably say Insight. So I'm gonna go irrelevant. People are irrelevant, baby. Tough
It's
stuff
not
out there,
irrelevant.
boys. Get bodied.
Wow.
You're telling me you're
Get
looking at the
murked.
gameplay of Hydra and telling me that's irrelevant? No shot.
You know,
Insight
no,
makes bad mistakes, and we've seen it
You
time and time
the
again.
point referencing
Insight,
that one play.
relevant,
That's all.
relevant.
That's all.
It's
It's
one
one
time was
play.
egregious, Sam. It was incredibly egregious.
They won second. They got second.
Why
They
is he
got
by the
second at
window
champs.
looking at nothing? It made no sense.
They got second at champs. They got second at stage 5. They won
Hey,
stage
I'm
2.
not saying that the team's bad. I'm not saying Insight's bad. I'm just saying I think there's more team. I think there's more happening there than you're giving credit for. And I think Insight
Hydra
got
absolutely
slow.
smoked in some maps too.
I think Insight got slow near the end.
I just don't agree with that.
I don't either.
He didn't get better.
I think he did, but I think Cammy also
His teammates got
exploded
better.
as well.
His
Yeah.
teammates definitely got better, but I don't like. I think he, I don't know, might have got slightly worse. I'm not saying it's bad. I'm just saying.
But like the best
he
career means you're
declined
gonna be
little
winning
bit.
a lot, and I think Insight's is primed to win quite a bit. Like,
I think so too, but I think he's primed to win with the team he has around him. I think you
Which
throw him on
means he's
another
gonna have the best
team, I don't
career.
think they win as much. I think if you throw Hydra on a team, I think that team wins more.
I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. We can disagree for now, but drop your comments down below. I'd love to hear it. So, with that said, what are you guys watching this week? And also, it's the 100th episode is next week. So, first
Let
of all,
us
everybody,
know.
if you guys are still listening, drop your comments down below. We want to hear your guys' opinions, your thoughts on what we should do next week to commemorate the 100th episode, which is pretty exciting. And that's 100 straight weeks. We never missed a week. So that's
Insane.
pretty
That's
epic.
true. That's crazy.
And awesome to say the least. So,
100.
shout out 100th episode, best of 3. Y'all are goated. Everybody's been here since the beginning. Y'all are especially goated for sure. So appreciate you guys. And with that said, what are you guys watching this week?
I am continuing to watch Midnight Mass.
Dude,
Okay.
I finished it.
You did?
Did you?
I did.
It's getting
What do
pretty
you
spicy.
think without spoilers?
I liked it.
Definitely creepy. Definitely wild.
Yeah, it's getting spicy where I'm at. So
It gets,
Great.
gets wild.
I just watched the. Well, you both have think. Oh no, I shouldn't spoil
Well,
it for
the viewers haven't seen it.
Yeah. Okay.
How many episodes are you in?
4.
Okay. So you're getting to this. You've gotten through a little bit of the spice, but there's more to come.
Yeah. So, but then also finishing up The Witcher.
Oh, nice.
I've been watching that slowly. So
Nice. I've been watching Halloween movies lately.
In the mood.
We saw Halloween, the 2018 version, and then we went
Yeah.
to the theaters and saw Halloween Kills. Here's
Nice.
the thing that I have with the Halloween movies. I've never been like a horror and gore type of guy.
Yeah.
And not that I'm
Talking about that
scared.
last
It's just like, even growing up, it just wasn't a thing for me. And then watching them at like 18 for like the first time, like it just, they don't scare me. And I get tired and sleepy and I almost fall asleep in the middle of them.
Yeah.
But for what it is, it was okay. I don't think
I
there's
never watched
anything
any of the
great.
Halloween movies.
But it seems like they followed the recipe that Halloween has succeeded with for a long time, and they just kept doing it. And it was like,
Yeah, that makes
Okay.
sense. Fair play. Well, I watched No Time to Die, James Bond. That was really good. I liked it a lot.
Was it good?
I enjoyed it a lot. I mean, it's a James Bond movie, so it's like, what you're getting into, but
Mhm.
it was, if you like Mission Impossible, you like James Bond, and you're going to like this one.
Yeah.
Like it's the same type of movies.
James Bond is always fun.
For sure. It was a good time. So
It's
I
his
enjoyed
last
it, but
one. Daniel Craig.
I know. It's crazy. But there you go, boys and girls. That is the podcast number 99. Again, drop all your comments down below with what you guys think we should do next week. But we appreciate you guys. And tweet us ideas or anything along those lines as well. Follow us, Best of 3 Pod on Twitter. But as always, guys, I'm Josh. SalvationsElite to my right is Bash_3. To our farthest right, per usual, is ShadyNero. And guys, we will see you next time. Oh, yeah.